In France, thousands of people demonstrate over the construction of a new high-speed rail line.
50 demonstrators suffer injuries while 6 were rushed to the hospital. More details on this later in the news. Good evening, I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Rich Yelago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. Marcos administration pushes for freedom of information for Filipinos. MV Esperanza Star catches fire off the Visayan coast. Saudi Arabia and Iran mend diplomatic ties. Vladimir Putin praises Russian market amid sanctions. And U.S. State Secretary Antony Blinken meets China's top diplomat Wang Yi. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. welcomes the Information Commissioners and Ombudsmen who attended the International Conference of Information Commissioners, or ICIC, in Pasay City. The President commends the Commissioners' Conference for its efforts to push people's right to access information. He adds that the Philippines stands in solidarity with the ICIC to promote freedom of information.
We value its potency to empower our people to make informed decisions, to participate fully in the democratic process, and hold the representatives accountable without fear or apprehension.
The President notes under the country's Freedom of Information program of the executive branch, the Republic will undertake a media and information literacy campaign to combat fake news.
To deliver her welcome remarks.
Like everyone here, we too recognize as a matter of principle that fake news should have no place in modern society.
The Philippines is the first Southeast Asian nation with the first access to information implementing body to host the summit.
MV Esperanza Star catches fire amid voyage to the province of Bohol. Christina Gira has the details.
Philippine Coast Guard, or PCG, rescues 78 passengers and 59 crew members of the MV Esperanza Star. The operation occurred after the ferry caught fire amid its travel from Siquijor Province to Bohol. According to the PCG, rescued individuals were safely turned over to authorities for medical attention. PCG deployed the BRP Cape San Agustin and BRP Malamawi to help extinguish the fire and assist with the rescue operation. Local officials are investigating the cause of the fire. Christina Gira reporting from Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, or BFAR, says production of fish in the West Philippine Sea will increase if there's no hindering factor in the water body. BFAR data shows in 2022, WPS lies at 6%. BFAR clarifies that there is no direct attribution to that particular data. The agency notes that the figures may be a result of bad weather and there's a tendency for a production increase if the geopolitical issue is not present. 2019 University of the Philippine Marine Science Institute shows that the country is losing about 33 billion pesos yearly due to a damaged ecosystem in the waters off Panatag Shoal and the Spratly Islands amid China's reclamation activities in the region.
In Maguindanao, government security clashes with seven suspected terrorists in Datu Paglas. Authorities say the suspects refused to have their hideout searched for firearms and improvised explosive devices, or IED. Officers of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region Police and Criminal Investigation and Detection Group, or CIDG, report that the suspect initially fired to start the shootout. The team was out to arrest Nasser Youssef Hussein and his brother Noor Jihad. Maguindanao del Sur and Cotabato local officials confirmed that the Husseins and their followers were involved in 2010 to 2017 bomb attacks in central Mindanao.
The Department of Finance asserts the military and uniformed personnel, or MUP new entrants, to allot 9% of their basic salary to the retirement fund. Vin Pascua reports.
According to the Department of Finance, a technical working group, or TWG, helped the Marcos administration to draft a pension law for the military and uniformed personnel, or MUP. The TWG proposes that the initial 5% MUP contributions could be raised to about 9 to 12%. The group notes that for the first 3 years, the 5% MUP contributions could be supplemented by the government with a 16% share. The share will fulfill the 21% monthly premium for the Pensions Trust Fund. The TWG clarifies that the scheme will adjust its contribution rate after 7 years. The TWG adds that the new members will start to contribute 9% with a corresponding 12% from the government. Vin Pascua reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Fuel prices are expected to go down tomorrow. Unioil Petroleum Philippines forecast diesel prices lowers by 5 to 15 centavos per liter, while gasoline is set to decrease by 30 to 40 centavos per liter. Meanwhile, the Department of Energy says the modification of pump prices is due to a year-to-date net decrease for diesel and kerosene. Last June, 13 oil companies imposed price increase per liter of 1 peso and 20 centavos for gasoline and 1 peso and 30 centavos for kerosene.
Pag-asa records water level drops on Angat and 5 other dams in Luzon despite rainfall experienced last week. According to Pag-asa, Angat Dam's water level lowered to 186.55 meters, a 0.23 meter decline from its previous level of 186.78 meters. But Angat Dam remains almost 4 meters higher than its rule curve elevation of 182.58 meters, the level of the dam that allows it to perform its functions. Meanwhile, Ipo Dam water level lowers by 0.9%, the Binga Dam's level drops by 0.61 meters, the Pantabangan Dam's levels cut by 0.10 meters. The Magat Dam level decreases by 0.36 and the Caliraya Dam's level dropped by 0.3 meters.
In New York City, Filipinos gathered once again for yet another event in observance of Philippine Independence Day. The ceremony was co-organized by the Philippine Consulate General in New York and the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs. Joanne Soriano reports.
The celebration in honor of the 125th anniversary of Philippine independence continued on Friday with a flag-raising ceremony at the oldest park in New York City. Government officials and members of the Filipino community gathered at Bowling Green in Lower Manhattan for this second annual flag-raising. Consul General Sanen Mangalile spoke on behalf of the 85,000 strong in the Filipino community who built their roots here.
We consider this flag-raising ceremony in these hallowed grounds as a recognition of the many contributions and achievements of Filipinos to New York City as we hoist both flags of the United States of America and the Philippines. We honor the great city of New York that has made the American dream a reality for many Filipinos.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams acknowledged the role Filipinos played in the city and the symbolic gesture of this flag raising.
So your community is so much in the fabric of this city and what we represent. So yes, we're raising the flag. That sounds simple, but don't miss our substance. How do we ensure that in a very substance way that you are at the seat of power, that you are there to speak on behalf of not only all New Yorkers in general, but specifically on the communities that you represent?
Recognition was made for Filipino Americans who now have a seat at the table. And Del Castillo, Commissioner of the New York City Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment, elected official for New York District 30 Assembly Member Stephen Raga, and appointed by Mayor Eric Adams as his deputy mayor, Maria Torres Springer. Mayor Adams was presented with a framed charcoal portrait by Ronald Cortez of the mayor wearing a Filipino barong. In New York, Joanne Soriano for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Coming up, Saudi Arabia and Iran mend diplomatic ties. Russian President Putin delivers a keynote speech at the St. Petersburg summit. And U.S. Secretary of State Blinken holds high-state talks in China. Stay tuned, Matanang Agila International will return for more global news.
This portion is brought to you by 318 Automart.
Sa buhay, minsan lang dumating ang taong masasabi mong tunay na kaibigan.
Yep! At kapag siya'y natagpuan na, huwag mo nang pakawalan.
Ang tunay na kaibigan, laging nandyan kahit kailan.
Handang gawin ang lahat, maging happy ka lang.
Gagawin ang April Song para sa'yo, para sa pamilya, at para sa bayan.
Tulad na lang ng inyong mga bagong kaibigan.
Tuwing umaga,
Love!
Tony Bet
And everything!
Ngayong June 26,
6:30 ng umaga.
sa Net 25! Let's net together! Love Tony Bet together! Love Tony Bet and everything! Love Tony Bet and
pag together, walang talo pag together. Let's stand together sa Net 25.
Welcome back to Matanang Agila International. Sudan donors to meet in Geneva as a 72-hour truce enters its second day. The latest ceasefire came into force at 6 a.m. on Sunday, with the army-led Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and his former deputy Mohammed Hamdan Daglo agreed to refrain from attacks and allow freedom of movement and the delivery of aid. They have been battling since April 15 after the two fell out in a bitter power struggle. Multiple truces have been arranged and broken in the war, which has claimed the lives of more than 2,000 people and driven another 2 million from their homes, including at least 500,000 who fled abroad. Meanwhile, the United Nations in Geneva convened an international pledging conference for Sudan in conjunction with several state partners on Monday. In a statement, donors were expected financial commitments to address the unfolding humanitarian crisis and reiterate the need for the parties to the conflict in Sudan to adhere to their obligations under international humanitarian law.
Supporters of the opposition party All People's Congress gather in a stadium in Freetown 6 days ahead of Sierra Leone's presidential election. All People's Congress, or APC, leader and presidential candidate Samura Kamara demanded the resignation of the Electoral Commission ahead of the elections, citing a vote of no confidence over their ability to hold a free and fair election for the country. Sierra Leone's Chief Electoral Commissioner Mohamed Kenewui Kone also rejected Kamara's accusations and said none of his team would resign. Dozens of young people were arrested following opposition protests in several cities calling for the Electoral Commissioner to resign.
Saudi Arabia and Iran took further step and sealed the reconciliation this weekend. Riyadh Minister Faisal bin Farhan and his Iranian counterpart Hossein Amir Abdullahian also focused their talks on regional security. RT correspondent Youssef Jalali has the details.
It's another big step toward full restoration of ties between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Foreign Minister Faisal bin Farhan is in Tehran, marking the first ever visit by a top Saudi official to Iran since 2016, when the two countries severed ties. Bin Farhan was warmly welcomed by his Iranian counterpart, Hossein Amir Abdullahian. During a joint press conference, the two diplomats hailed the re-establishment of diplomatic relations, which they said would contribute to fostering peace and security across the region. Bin Farhan said he's conveying the warm greetings of King Salman and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to the Iranian president. He said the kingdom is looking forward to seeing President Raisi in Riyadh as soon as possible. The Saudi diplomat said mutual respect, non-interference in the two countries' internal affairs, and commitment to the United Nations Charter will be prioritized in bilateral relations. He said that the two countries had discussed ways to ensure maritime security and reduce proliferation of weapons of mass destruction.
We should point out the importance of cooperation between our two countries with regard to regional security, the importance of maritime navigation and waterways, and the same cooperation between all countries in the region to ensure that they are free of weapons of mass destruction.
The Iranian foreign minister, for his part, said Tehran has never equated security with militarism and considers security to be a comprehensive concept which includes political, economic, cultural, trade, and social dimensions between all of the countries in the region. Amir Abdullahian added that he discussed a wide range of issues with his counterpart, which included trade ties and joint investment, in addition to accommodating Saudi tourists and pilgrims who may be interested in visiting Iran. Amir Abdullahian and bin Farhan have already met twice. They first met in Beijing to follow up on the China-brokered reconciliation agreement, and then they met in early June in South Africa on the sidelines of the BRICS summit, where bin Farhan told Amir Abdullahian that he would soon visit Iran.
Thousands of ordinary Russian citizens have been arrested, accused of discrediting the country's army. Thomas I. Likeness reports.
Unlike the trials of high-profile critics, these judicial proceedings take place quietly, away from ordinary Russians. The independent rights group OVD Info says more than 20,000 people in Russia have been detained for protesting against the invasion of Ukraine. Thousands of people have been charged with publishing fake information on the war, while others have been accused of discrediting the army. In one such case, authorities arrested a 75-year-old man. His crime? In a one-man protest in Moscow, he held up a sign that read, "My country, you have gone insane." The retired aeronautical engineer faces up to 5 years in prison. Thomas I. Likeness for Matanlang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has told Russia's leader Vladimir Putin that the Russia-Ukraine conflict must end. Ramaphosa's remarks came in St. Petersburg as part of a peace mission with 6 other African countries.
Well, I think our mission was impactful. Its real success obviously will be measured on the ultimate objective of stopping the war.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky told the delegation that he would not enter talks with Russia while they occupied Ukrainian land. Putin told the African leaders Ukraine had always refused talks. At the meeting in St. Petersburg, Ramaphosa also called for both parties to return their prisoners of war and said children removed by Russia should be returned home. African leaders also tried to explain to summit attendees how the war impacted their countries and rebuffed a call for a diplomatic end to the conflict.
The agreement that they are willing to engage with African leaders on this is a huge achievement for us, because now Africa is in the frame. Africa will be participating, and we're participating positively without trying to diminish the other efforts that are underway.
The war has severely restricted the export of grain from Ukraine and fertilizer from Russia, which has affected African countries in particular and intensified global food security. Putin blamed the West for the grain crisis, not the war in Ukraine, as he said only 3% of the grain exports permitted under a UN-sponsored deal to ensure its safe passage through the Black Sea had gone to the world's poorest countries.
Курс на открытость экономики – это, безусловно, наш пятый важнейший принцип. Несмотря на все трудности прошлого года, мы не свернули на путь самоизоляции. Наоборот, расширили контакты с надежными, ответственными партнерами в странах и регионах, которые сегодня выступают локомотивами, драйверами мировой экономики. И хочу повторить, это рынки будущего. Все это прекрасно понимают.
The African delegation, made up of representatives from South Africa, Egypt, Senegal, Congo, Brazzaville, Comoros, Zambia, and Uganda, has been specifically designed for breadth and balance.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has praised his country's economic strength despite the imposition of tough international sanctions over the conflict in Ukraine.
Что здравый смысл, энергия бизнеса, объективные рыночные законы работают сильнее, чем текущая политическая конъюнктура. Это говорит о том, что уродливая по своей сути неоколониальная международная система прекратила свое существование, а многополярный мировой порядок, напротив, укрепляется. Это неизбежный процесс.
Speaking at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, Putin also asked the audience to hold a minute's silence in honor of former Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi. He stated that the country's macroeconomic trends were looking positive, citing momentum and strength as key aspects of their business plans. Russia had reached historically low levels of unemployment at just 3.3%, primarily due to responsible budgetary and monetary policies, as well as bolstering bilateral trade partnerships.
Перед лицом беспрецедентных вызовов Россия не отступила от своих принципов экономического развития. Я уже с этого начал. Общими усилиями предпринимателей, крупных, средних, мелких компаний, при активном участии органов власти мы сохранили устойчивость нашей экономики. На сегодня это абсолютно очевидно, что называется, медицинский факт.
Despite the country's public finances were fairly balanced, the Russian leaders said that their primary deficits had come from military spending and ammunition resupplies. He also renewed a call for foreign businesses to return and engage themselves with the Russian market.
Тем не менее, скажу, если иностранные производители захотят вновь вернуться, прийти на наш рынок, такие разговоры мы слышим все чаще и чаще, мы двери ни для кого не закрываем. Конкуренции, безусловно, никто не боится, а она, как известно, двигатель прогресса и торговли. Будем создавать для них необходимые условия для работы в России.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has revealed the general terms of Treaty of Neutrality with Ukraine. Putin said the draft of treaty contains peace negotiations which were discussed in March 2022. Despite signing the treaty, Putin asserted Kyiv abruptly discarded the documents. The Russian leader also disclosed the treaty was drafted in Turkey. The agreement stipulated that Ukraine must enshrine permanent neutrality in its constitution. Russia, the United States, Great Britain, China, and France were listed as guarantors.
We did not agree with the Ukrainian side that this deal would be confidential, but we also never disclosed it or commented on it. The draft of this agreement was initialed by a representative of the head of the negotiating group from Kiev. He put his signature there. Here it is. It's called the Treaty on Permanent Neutrality and Guarantees for the Security of Ukraine. It contains 18 articles, and there is also an appendix. Its provisions concern the armed forces and many other things. Everything is written there, down to units of military equipment and personnel of the armed forces. Here is the document. It is initialed. But after we withdrew troops from Kiev as promised, the Kiev authorities, as their patrons usually do, threw it all into the wastebasket of history. Where are the guarantees that they will not continue to abandon such agreements?
Japanese Emperor Naruhito met with Indonesian President Joko Widodo on Monday. It was Naruhito's first state trip since ascending the chrysanthemum throne in 2019. Naruhito and Empress Masako's June 17 to 23 visit to Southeast Asia's biggest economy came after Widodo invited the emperor during a trip to Tokyo last year. In a statement, Widodo said that the royal couple's visit has further strengthened the friendship between their people. Tokyo and Jakarta have moved to boost ties in recent years, with Japanese officials citing the importance of Indonesia's emerging economy and its strategic location close to global shipping lanes.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has held substantive and constructive talks with China's top diplomat Wang Yi. This state visit marks a U.S. foreign official's highest trip to China in over 5 years as rivals seek to stabilize foreign relations. Blinken discussed Taiwan and other pressing issues with the diplomat for around 3 hours at the Diaoyutai State Guest House in Beijing. Wang described the relationship with the U.S. as being at a low point due to the United States' wrong perception of Chinese practices and culture. Chinese President Xi Jinping praised the U.S. State Secretary, citing how their relationship has progressed in a courtesy call before Blinken was set to return to the U.S.
双方在一些具体的问题上呢，也取得了进展，达成了共识，这很好。
The head of the UN Atomic Energy Agency has assessed the condition of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant as very serious. He had to confirm personally that there was enough water to keep the power plant's cooling in check, but he also asserts that it could only operate for a limited time. Rafael Grossi of the International Atomic Energy Agency was inspecting the state of Europe's largest nuclear plant following last week's breach in the Kakhovka Dam downstream on the Dnipro River.
We come to the end of the third visit of the IEA team led by myself to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. As you can see behind me, this is the contact point between the Ukrainian forces and the Russian forces that left us a minute ago behind the bridge, destroyed bridge that you can see here.
Russia and Ukraine have repeatedly accused each other of shelling near the plant, endangering its safe operation. The station's 6 reactors are now in shutdown. The Kakhovka reservoir was normally used to refill the cooling pond adjacent to the plant, but cannot do so now because of its falling water level after the breach.
We believe that we have gathered a good amount of information for an assessment of the situation, and we will continue permanently monitoring the situation there in order to help prevent a nuclear accident.
Up next, guards seize farm animals from Ecuadorian prison. A hot air balloon burst, leaving 7 injured in Switzerland. And Papua New Guinea capital cultivates environmental awareness in schools. Mata ng Agila International will be back after this short break. Don't go away.
This portion is brought to you by Robic Builders.
Ang Best Public Affairs Program. And the star goes to Open for Business Net 25.
It is a signal to the world that we are open for business.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos. Every Sunday, 9 p.m.
Magandang araw, magandang araw. Magandang araw, magandang araw. Magandang araw, magandang araw. Magandang araw. na lagi mong kasama. Magandang araw, magandang araw.
Thousands of people defied a ban and turned out to protest construction of a new high-speed rail line linking Lyon, France with Turin, Italy. A dozen police officers suffered injuries as the demonstration in southern France turned violent. Arlene Ocampo reports.
Police in southern France fired tear gas as protesters hurled rocks at them. Organizers say 50 demonstrators suffered injuries and 6 had to be taken to the hospital. Authorities estimated the crowd at about 3,000. The protesters are upset over the rail line, which will pass through the Alps. Opponents say the ecology of the region will be destroyed, adding that springs have started to dry up since construction started. Supporters of the line say it will ease road traffic. Arlene Ocampo from Atanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Contrabands of a different kind have been seized by authorities in an Ecuador prison. Amongst other things, police and military personnel found 2 caged pigs during their search of the Bella Vista prison. Guards wheeled out the caged swine from the prison located in western Ecuador. Aside from the 2 pigs, authorities found 12 fighting cocks present in the prison. There were no indication as to how the animals ended up in the prison's high security wing. Security forces also found several other items, including a couple of dozen bladed weapons and 16 electrical items. Conditions in Ecuador's prisons are notoriously poor. Violence has led to the deaths of hundreds of inmates as rival gangs vie for the control of the institutions.
Inflation is so bad in Argentina that people are resorting to dumpster diving to put food on the table. They put their pride aside as they struggle to live in a country where prices continue to soar. Jane Kathleen Gregorio has more.
This is a regular sight at the Central Market in Buenos Aires. These folks are looking for edible fruits and vegetables that vendors throw out. It's a tiresome task, but it's the only way they have to make ends meet in a country that has one of the highest inflation rates in the world. For the past 12 months, inflation is running at 114%. Many of these people have jobs, but their wages cannot keep up with the rising prices. They buy non-perishable food with their money and look through dumpsters for produce. For many of the less fortunate who are not employed, discarded fruits and vegetables comprise the majority of their diets. It's a hard life in a country riddled with economic problems. Jane Kathleen Gregorio for Atanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Grieving families in western Uganda prepare to bury their dead Sunday following a brutal attack on a school that left dozens of students dead. Officials say militants killed at least 41 people, mostly students, in the raid Friday. Anna Kui has more.
Ugandan authorities blame the Allied Democratic Forces for the violence. It's a paramilitary group based in the neighboring Democratic Republic of the Congo. Police are pursuing the attackers who fled back toward the border with 6 people they kidnapped. Police described the attack as gruesome. The victims were hacked, shot, and burned in the late-night raid on the secondary school less than 2 kilometers from the border. 17 male students burned to death after fire totally destroyed their dormitory. The attackers shot and killed a security guard at the gate of the school as they forced their way in. The government says it will assist with funeral arrangements and supporting the injured. Anna Kui from Atanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
In Switzerland, 7 people were rushed to the hospital after a hot air balloon burst into flames in mid-air. The basket where the passengers crashed to the ground soon after the balloon caught fire. Authorities say 4 women and 3 men of ages 28 to 64 sustained injuries. Local media says the local fire brigade quickly responded to the site of the incident. Local officials are conducting an investigation to find the cause of the fire.
A cyclone that swept over southern Brazil has claimed the lives of at least 11 people. Authorities say another 10 are missing and helicopter searches are underway for survivors. The deadly storm late last week forced thousands of people from their homes. Torrential rains flooded the streets of towns and villages in the southern state of Rio do Sul as rescue operations continue. Since the storm struck, authorities have brought about 2,400 people to safety. Those returning home on Sunday are assessing the damage and mopping up. More than 2,300 people have lost their homes. A number of municipalities have declared a state of emergency. Power outages have left households and businesses in the dark. Authorities warn some areas are at risk of landslides because the heavy rain has left the ground unstable. In Papua New Guinea, environment awareness takes center stage. A tree planting campaign is taking root in the capital city, and students are getting involved in sustainable living. Echo Orteleza Quinola reports.
The National Capital District relaunches the 1 million tree planting initiative.
Some of the youths here, you are part of this project. We must embrace that project.
Port Moresby Governor Powis Barkop joins the community in planting trees in 6 locations. Coral and mangrove planting demonstration also takes place. Among the aims of the program is to protect the natural environment and mitigate climate change. It also taught economic and social benefits.
Planet Earth is only planet that we have needs you to take action to protect this planet. Climate change is for real. Climate change will get more severe if we don't take action now. The impact of climate change does not discriminate, does not affect only those who are major polluters, the industrialized country. Here in the Pacific, we are feeling the consequence of climate change.
Meanwhile, students exhibit creativity and talent by reusing, recycling, and reducing plastic with an art exhibition showcasing plastic pyrolysis. Panel discussions where students and the speakers exchange insights and expertise furthermore brings awareness about conserving the environment.
There's a lot of poisons in plastic. Going back to that Pacific garbage patch, about 84% of all the plastic that's tested from that patch contains toxins, contains poisonous chemicals. So for the animals that are eating that and aren't killed because it's so big, they're still being poisoned by little pieces of things called microplastics.
The month-long World Environment Day campaign serves as a reminder to the people of Port Moresby to preserve, protect, and create a greener, more sustainable, and cleaner city.
Echo Orteleza Quinola, Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea. Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Coming right up, U.S. government offers million bounty for CLOP ransomware information. Filipino gymnast Carlos Yulo captures 3 gold medals in 2023 Asian Gymnastics. And find out who takes home the Mrs. Universe Philippines 2023 title. Catch more news in business, tech, sports, and entertainment when we return.
We now welcome you back to Mata ng Agila International. Apple, the company, wants rights to the images of apples. The fruit union Swiss is now in a precarious position since they may have to change their logo since the tech giant Apple is trying to gain intellectual property rights over depictions of apples. The 111-year-old fruit-growing organization is left baffled by the fact that their depiction of a bitten apple was met with little to no contest, but the lawsuit seems so frivolous given that they want rights to all apples. Apple's attempts to secure the trademark in Switzerland go as far back as 2017, requesting IP rights for a realistic black-and-white depiction of an apple variety known as the Granny Smith. The United States Department's Rewards for Justice, or RFJ program, announces 10 million bounties for providing information linked to the Clop ransomware gang. The bounty comes after the Clop ransomware cyber attacked the Move It transfer security file platform last month. The Clop ransomware claimed to have stolen data from hundreds of companies. Clop ransomware begins its extortion on the victimized companies by listing their names on a data leak site. Clop ransomware threatens the companies to start leaking data if a ransom was not paid. RFJ is a program that offers monetary rewards for information on threat actors that affect the national security of the USA.
In sports, Filipino gymnast Carlos Yulo captures 3 gold medals in the 2023 Asian Gymnastics Championships, while Max Verstappen records his 41st podium finish in the Canadian Grand Prix. Bernadette Manuel has the score.
Philippines top in qualification.
Filipino Olympian and gymnast Carlos Yulo bags 3 gold medals in the 2023 Asian Gymnastics Championships in Singapore. Yulo has once again reigned supreme in the gymnastics competition as he won 3 gold medals in his 5 events. He topped the men's vault finals, scoring 14.299, with Uzbekistan finishing second and South Korea on third place. Yulo also reigned in the parallel bars finals, scoring 15.266, with Japan on second and China on third place. Meanwhile, he scored 15 points to win the gold medal in the floor exercise event, with Kazakhstan finishing second and China on third place. In total, Yulo had 5 medals from this year's Asian Championships, with 1 silver and 1 bronze. With this feat, Carlos Yulo earns a spot in the World Championships in Antwerp, Belgium this September.
Absolutely stunning landing from Carlos Yulo.
Meanwhile, Red Bull's Max Verstappen tallies his 41st victory that tied the Dutchman for 5th all-time in the Formula One's win rankings. The 25-year-old defending champion and series leader led from lights to flag as he crossed the pylon 9.57 seconds ahead of Aston Martin's Fernando Alonso and Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton. He also made more history by leveling with the legendary Ayrton Senna on 41 wins. Verstappen's triumph also gave Red Bull their 100th victory in the sport and 18 years on from the team's debut. It was Verstappen's second win at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve and his 41st overall, leaving him behind only 4-time champion Alain Prost and Sebastian Vettel and 7-time champions Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton. The next stop on the 2023 F1 calendar will be Spielberg's Red Bull Ring for the Austrian Grand Prix, which takes place from June 30 to July 2. Bernadette Manuel reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Six candidates compete for the crown to be Mrs. Universe Philippines 2023. Michelle Dario has the details.
Arlene Chris Damot of Parañaque reigns as Mrs. Universe Philippines 2023. Maria Stella Sian from Valenzuela City takes home the Mrs. Universe Philippines North Pacific Asia 2023 title. Coming from Cavite, Mona Lisa Hernandez Zalenga secures her throne to be Mrs. Universe Philippines Northeast Asia 2023. Cebu candidate Miraflor Rodis and Pampanga Shirley Garcia tie as Mrs. Universe Philippines Pacific Continental 2023. Bechay de Dios of Manila receives the crown of Mrs. Universe Philippines West Pacific Asia 2023. Meanwhile, Net 25 personalities received recognition after the event. Veteran journalist Alex Santos, news anchor Emma Tiglao, and talent coordinator Cesar Batingal was awarded as Philippines' Most Exceptional Men and Women 2023 for their excellence and contributions to the network. Net 25 program Counterpoint host attorney Sal Panelo also received recognition along with showbiz industry personalities like Shop All the Way with Jojo A host Jojo Alihar that hosted the said event. Michelle Dario reporting for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
June is National Immigrant Heritage Month in the U.S. Our team asked some of our immigrant friends there how they celebrate their heritage and how they pass it down to their children, even when living in a foreign land. Arlene Ocampo reports.
Celebration of immigrants and refugees in our country. An opportunity to explore and understand their background. National Immigrant Heritage Month is celebrated here in the U.S. every June since 2014. This month creates awareness about how diversity and immigration are both essential elements of social connection. Let's hear what brought some immigrants to the U.S.
As America, it has like better opportunities, better life. That's what attracted me to come over here.
So in 1988, after I finished my undergraduate degree in India, I wanted to pursue higher education. So I came to America to do PhD.
I went to the United States in 2007 and I was one of the lucky teachers that were selected to teach in Prince George's County Public Schools District.
Yeah, I come here to make my future bright and here is a lot of opportunities, so I want to continue my further studies, bachelor degree and get quality education.
While they all had different reasons in coming to America, they all have something in common. They never forgot their heritage.
For me, it's a little bit difficult to preserve our culture, but somehow in our area there are lots of Nepalese community, so we can celebrate.
I have a lot of friends from India and we meet regularly.
Because I work in a school where we bring some food, we sometimes wear our costume, like we just celebrated our multicultural activity, and we even showcase a Filipino folk dance called Kumintang.
Now a lot of Nepali people, they live in USA and we have like small community.
It is important to share our heritage to pass it to our next generation through our communities.
The heritage show who we are and where we came from. We want to pass those things to our future generation. So it's very important to preserve our heritage over here too.
This month is a call to embrace the nation's diverse and varied immigrant communities. After all, the courage to reach their dreams built America. Arlene Ocampo from Atanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
In Chile, sculptor and pastry chef Pablo Jofre presents his masterpiece to promote his country's tourism. Jofre crafts a 350-kilogram cow sculpture made mostly from chocolate. The sweet statue is about 1.7 meters tall and 2.4 meters wide. Sources say the sculptor poured almost 20 hours of non-stop work. Hofer hopes to break the world record in this category.
Happy Monday to you, Gianna.
Happy Monday.
Hope your weekend was great. And to start the week, here's a quote from the founder of Aikido, the martial artist Morihei Ueshiba Sensei. True victory is victory over oneself.
I think that's so important when we go for any goal, just focus on our own journey, not comparing ourselves to anyone else.
That's right. And if you're able to take full control of your mind and your body and your capabilities, I think for me that's victory.
Victory it is. And that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.